In front of a castle, a young hero announces he has trained for 1 month. His scruffier opponent Riku nonchalantly replies, questioning if a hero can beat an old man. Two young women, one in armor and one with glasses, watch with worried expressions. With a determined look, the hero grips his sword and announces he's starting. His feet lift from the ground as he launches forward with a burst of speed. He brings the heavy wooden sword down in a ferocious, powerful downward arc. The two female onlookers gasp, the girl with glasses exclaiming at his incredible speed. Riku calmly observes, thinking this speed proves the boy must be a genuine hero. Believing his attack is a guaranteed hit, the hero yells out in triumph. Riku's expression is unimpressed as he declares that he won't be hit so easily. With a fluid movement, he sidesteps, the powerful swing cutting through empty air. The hero's eyes widen in disbelief as he stumbles past his intended target. Riku hooks a leg behind the young man's, tripping him with practiced ease. He sends the hero tumbling through the air, introducing himself as Takayanagi Riku. The hero lands flat on his back, defeated by a man who was just a salaryman. The two girls watch the swift, unexpected outcome with utter shock and disbelief. Lying on the ground, the hero stares up at the sky with uncomprehending eyes. Riku muses that the boy's speed is impressive, but his simple attacks are easily countered. He calls out for the next challenger, wondering why he's in this other world again. A wry, cynical smirk plays on his lips as he questions how he got into this mess. The scene dissolves into a memory from 1 month prior. Riku thinking he's an idiot. In the memory, he lies sprawled on a road, calling himself a great big idiot. He recalls helping a junior colleague at work, which made him late going home. On his way home, he stumbled upon high school students in trouble and tried to help. He suddenly finds himself in a stone chamber, greeted as the hero from another world. The students look equally confused, the boy asking if they are the summoned heroes. A regal woman introduces herself as Princess Epicharis, the one who summoned them. Riku scoffs, wondering if this world is truly about to be conquered by a demon king. The princess gravely explains that their world is indeed on the verge of being dominated. Riku feels a headache coming on, questioning the simple premise of defeating a demon lord. Princess Epicharis formally requests the aid of the two summoned heroes to defeat the evil. Riku's eyes narrow as he latches onto her specific mention of two people. The young man Fuda wonders if the heroes are him and the Gyaru-looking girl. The girl with glasses, Mizuki, asks who the adult-looking big sister is. Fuda insists they're just ordinary high school students and can't possibly be heroes. The princess explains that legend says otherworlders have blessed powers to defeat the demon lord. The blonde girl Kaho is annoyed, questioning the princess's focus on just two people. She points accusingly, demanding to know what the deal is with Mizuki and the old guy. Fuda tries to calm Kaho, but she insists on complaining about the one-sided situation. Riku observes Kaho, noting that her strong will is on full display. Fuda agrees, stating that there is no benefit for them in this arrangement. He demands they be sent home, as their families will be worried sick. Riku thinks that the boy's demands are reasonable and that he is no fool. Princess Epicharis' expression turns stoic as she listens to their demands. A serene smile spreads across her face as she says the dungeon is too chilly for this talk. As they walk, the princess asks the heroes for their names. The spiky-haired boy introduces himself as Okudera Fuda. The blonde girl with pigtails introduces herself as Himura Kana. The princess acknowledges Kana and Fuda by name. Riku mentally notes that he and the quiet girl are being ignored. The princess's face turns cold as she states they are the chosen ones with no say. She explains they have no choice but to follow the ancient prophecy of the summoning. Her expression then crumples as she tearfully begs them to save her manipulated kingdom. Kaho is shocked, wondering how their country could have been targeted. Riku, however, remains deeply suspicious of the princess's performance. They are led to a balcony and gasp at the sight of 3 moons in the sky. The finality of their situation crashes down. This is truly another world. Riku feels something is profoundly wrong, despite the 3 moons confirming their location. Fuda walks beside him, steeling himself for the ordeal ahead. Riku worries that if they just go along with the plan, they will be pushed around. The princess's thoughts reveal the other 2 were an unforeseen, powerless complication. She resolves to proceed with her plan, believing only 2 of them are true heroes. Riku suggests he and Mizuki be kept under careful protection within the castle. The princess turns to him, her gaze sharp as she asks what he wants. With a feigned innocent smile, Riku notes her cold gaze toward the non-heroes. He reiterates his request for the 2 of them to be carefully protected in the castle. Fuda thinks that this provides a sense of security, but the situation is not simple. Kaho demands to know the name of the girl with glasses, The older man confidently introduces himself as Takayanagi Riku. Kaho identifies the other two as Fuda and Kaho, noting their calmness. Riku turns to the girl with glasses and asks for her name. The quiet girl introduces herself as Ezoe Mizuki. Kaho demands to know why Mizuki isn't fighting, but Riku tells her to hang in there. He hushes Kaho as she angrily asks what he is doing. She confronts him, asking why he suggested he and Mizuki be protected. Riku intentionally raises his voice, explaining that the two of them have no power. The princess glares, hissing at him to be quiet as he continues. He sketches a diagram in the air, showing the heroes as the only solution. Kaho is stunned, asking what he means by all of this. The horrifying implication dawns on Fuda. They need hostages to control the heroes. Riku gives a slight nod, internally praising Fuda for his quick thinking. The group realizes their hosts need hostages to control the heroes' immense power. Kaho whirls on them, realizing they intentionally separated themselves from the group. Riku swiftly claps a hand over her mouth, telling her that her voice is too loud. He whispers urgently for her not to play into their hands and to calm down. Fuda wonders how Riku can be so calm in this situation. Riku gives a confident wink, a testament to his vast life experience. Defeated, the princess tells them to follow her to their prepared rooms. The grand doors swing open with a creak, inviting them inside. A magnificent multi-tiered stand is laden with an assortment of cakes and cupcakes. The long table groans under the weight of a feast, centered by a roasted bird. Delicate porcelain teapots and fine china are laid out for the guests. The four summoned individuals gasp in awe at the opulent spread. Kaho's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated joy at the delicious-looking food. The princess invites them to eat, and Kaho eagerly reaches for a cupcake. Riku's polished shoe catches on something, and he stumbles forward with a yelp. He collides with Kaho, who lets out a startled cry as the cupcake is knocked away. He apologizes profusely, but the annoyed Kaho snaps at him for his clumsiness. A stern man warns Riku not to eat food offered by a supposed ally. Riku can only manage a meek yes as Kaho looks on in dawning shock. Seated at a grand, untouched feast, a group of summoned individuals faces their hosts. A man in a suit, Takayanagi Riku, formally reintroduces himself to a regal woman. The woman explains that her nation, Rakaris, is also currently at war with the Demon King. She then questions why, given the circumstances, they are being asked to fight a neighboring human nation. A montage illustrates that her kingdom, Etruria, is in a cold war, suffering from unstable supplies. The queen laments being caught in this political stalemate at such a critical time. Takayanagi acknowledges the situation, realizing their true enemy might be human after all. He angrily confronts her, asking if she truly intends to make these children kill people. The queen's expression hardens, her eyes narrowing at the harsh accusation. The three students are horrified, whispering amongst themselves about the prospect of having to kill. The queen clarifies that she understands his suspicion and wishes to formally request their cooperation. She presents a diagram showing that if the heroes defeat the Demon King, the human conflict may resolve. The spiky-haired boy, Riku, considers this, thinking it might be acceptable if they don't fight humans. Takayanagi leans back with a smug look, accusing her of using force to get her way. The queen calmly states that as a ruler, she has a solemn duty to protect her people. Takayanagi stares at her with intense, calculating eyes, a confident smirk on his face. The queen meets his gaze, her own expression one of grim, unwavering determination. The students watch the tense standoff, the blonde girl whispering Riku's name with concern. Another boy thinks to himself that it's impossible to get any more information from them now. Takayanagi abruptly stands and agrees to let the two heroes undergo the proposed training. He adds a condition, dramatically pointing as he declares they will withhold all other cooperation. Her attendant is shocked, realizing this means giving power to a potential enemy. The queen remains perfectly composed, calmly agreeing to his terms without hesitation. She then adds another condition of her own to the surprise of the summoned group. She demands they be given 2 separate rooms, refusing to leave the groups alone together. The queen thinks to herself that it is only natural to be cautious with these newcomers. The meeting concludes, and the heroes are told to rest for several days while training is prepared. A dark transitional panel marks the end of the formal negotiation scene. Later, an attendant informs Princess Epikara that he has guided the group to their rooms as ordered. The attendant complains about the audacious demands of the commoner, Takayanagi. The princess muses that the presence of a shrewd adult guardian complicates her plans. The attendant voices his doubt that such children could truly possess the power to defeat the Demon King. He is taken aback by the princess's confident and unexpected response. The princess turns to him with a serene smile, telling him that all he needs to do is believe in her. In their room, the blonde girl scolds Takayanagi for being rude and overly suspicious. He tells her it's fine, then asks if she wasn't angry about the situation too. He explains his belief that the princess is hiding something, as people offering such good deals often lie. He reminds them that this is another world where the laws and common sense of Japan don't apply. The girl with glasses realizes with dawning horror that magic could be used to brainwash them. The blonde girl asks how he is so knowledgeable about the dangers of another world. Takayanagi gathers them, announcing that it's time for a strategy meeting now that they're alone. He asks them grimly if they want to just die in this strange, unfamiliar world. His expression becomes deadly serious as he tells them they absolutely must not die here. The students look on, pale with fear, as he explains this is to ensure their survival. He turns to the wall saying there's something he must do before they begin their meeting. He places both of his hands flat against the wall, closing his eyes in deep concentration. A faint magical energy seems to flow from his hands and into the wall's surface. He murmurs that it's been a while since he's felt this particular sensation. His eyes snap open in sudden realization. This world has magic power, just as he suspected. He invokes a skill called Eye of Discernment, holding his hands up in a ready stance. He closes his eyes, listening intently as he scans the room with his magical senses. He concludes his check with a quiet, satisfied, "all right." He reports that there are no listening devices, musing that their hosts are careless. The blonde girl asks how he knew to check, and he explains it's because magic is a factor here. The students are amazed, the spiky-haired boy eagerly asking if he can use magic too. The blonde girl excitedly realizes that's what the Ochushan was doing all along. He internally cringes at his own dramatic, chuuni-like behavior. He sheepishly thinks that being in another world again got him a bit carried away. Put on the spot, he is challenged to show them some magic that they can actually see. He agrees, admitting he's not entirely sure if his old magic will work in this world. He strikes a dramatic pose, intoning the single powerful word summon. The three students watch him, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and hope. A swirling vortex of energy begins to rumble and materialize in the air above them. The students recoil in shock as Riku himself looks surprised by the power of the spell. He snaps his fingers with a sharp, decisive sound, activating the portal. A small, energetic elf girl bursts from the portal with a powerful, room-shaking yell. She stretches languidly, declaring with a yawn that she slept very well. She looks around the room in confusion, wondering where she is. Her eyes land on Riku with a look of instant, joyful recognition. She cries out his name, tears of happiness welling in her eyes. She joyfully leaps through the air and tackles him in a fierce hug. The blonde girl asks in bewilderment if he was the one who summoned the creature. He grins, glad that his magic was a success even in this world. He calmly tells the stunned students that he has had the same experience as them. The three high schoolers are frozen in silence, their eyes wide with disbelief. A flashback shows a younger him as a hero. He explains he was a hero in a different world. He declares with absolute confidence that this is his second time in another world. The students' jaws drop, their faces a mask of utter shock and confusion. Their collective, drawn-out cry of disbelief echoes under the starry night sky of this new world. 3 days later, Takayanagi Riku reflects on his second otherworldly experience while eating an apple. He is shown perched in the foliage of a tree, a silent, unseen observer. From his hiding spot, he watches the training of the two high schooler heroes begin below. On the training grounds, the two heroes stand before their muscular instructor. Riku mentally profiles the male hero, Okudera Futa, a serious but easily influenced young man. Futa struggles under the weight of a heavy, loaded practice bar. He then picks up a heavy practice sword, his expression grimly determined. He brings the sword down, and a visible shockwave of force erupts outwards from the impact. The surrounding soldiers are stunned, exclaiming that this must be the raw power of a hero. Futa lets out a powerful roar as he prepares to strike a thick training dummy. He relentlessly pummels the dummy with a series of brutal, overlapping strikes. The dummy explodes into a shower of straw and wood fragments under his furious assault. A female knight murmurs in awe that with such power, he could likely take on Elatoria by himself. Riku then assesses the female hero, Himura Kana, sensing that she is simply putting on a brave face. A dark-skinned female soldier explains that in their country, the spear is traditionally a woman's weapon. Kana is shown practicing spear forms with other female warriors, her movements focused and deliberate. A soldier marvels at how effortlessly she wields the heavy spear with her slender arms. Kana admits to herself with a sheepish smile that she's just copying moves from a video game. She unleashes a series of sharp, precise thrusts at her own training dummy. In a flash, she slices clean through the dummy's torso, sending the top half flying. A burly soldier clenches his fist in excitement, declaring that with these two, victory is certain. Peering at the core of an apple, a man named Riku concludes there is some kind of blessing at play. He reflects that the two young heroes are moving far better than he did when he was first summoned. Recalling his own weakness, he watches the training grounds from a distant, unseen perch. His thoughts turn to the one person remaining, a weary expression on his face. The scene transitions to the high stone walls of the castle. Inside a quiet room, the girl with glasses, Mizuki, sits at a table while a small fairy hovers nearby. Without warning, the glass of water in front of her begins to rattle violently. The water churns and bubbles intensely, as if coming to a boil. Riku suddenly appears, announcing his return and startling Mizuki into a scream. She asks why he keeps appearing in her room, but he states he is checking her latent abilities. He explains that Mizuki has an aptitude for water magic, able to conjure it just by thinking her name. Internally, Riku profiles her as a plain girl who was unfortunately swept up in the summoning. The fairy Lychee excitedly suggests teaching Mizuki attack magic like Aqua Bullet. A memory of Kana flashes, calling him an old man with a serious case of chunibu. Riku brushes it off, his thoughts returning to the other magical elements he possesses. Lychee proudly announces that she is an artificial spirit Riku created from the 4 great elements. Mizuki wonders why she, a non-hero, can use magic, prompting Riku to offer 2 theories. He remembers the princess explicitly stating that only heroes are granted special powers. With a firm grip on the doorknob, he realizes there must be a hidden agenda. Just then, Fuda and Kana arrive, cheerfully announcing their return from training. Kana comments that Fuda finished quickly and seems to have plenty of energy to spare. She praises his amazing first day, while he says the training felt more like a club activity. Riku interrupts them, declaring he has something to discuss now that everyone is present. His thoughts turn to the grim reality of their situation and its ultimate conclusion. He suddenly asks Fuda an intense, unexpected question. Which of the 2 girls does he like more? The 3 high schoolers are stunned into absolute wide-eyed silence. Their faces flush crimson as they reel from the bizarre and personal inquiry. Flustered, the girls begin to bicker amongst themselves about the absurd question. Kana insists Mizuki is a better match for Fuda, which she vehemently denies. Riku watches their frantic denials, thinking it feels like a poorly rehearsed stage play. Cutting through the noise, he says that while his question was partly a joke, they are safe for now. His tone turns grave as he warns them to survive, as he has something to tell them. The fairy Lychee seems surprised by the sudden and serious shift in his tone. A memory flashes of someone telling him to simply leave his old world behind. He expresses his wish that they do not end up with the same regrets he has. Fuda asks what happened to him, but Riku says that is the main topic for later. By candlelight, he promises to speak with them properly about it at another time. He then drops a bombshell announcing his intention to leave the country, shocking everyone. He clarifies that his departure is temporary and part of a story that will unfold in 1 month. His gaze sharpens as he asks if they remember what happened on their first day here. Kana angrily recalls him causing her to drop her cake and then warning them to be on guard. Riku asks them to recount the mission they were given by the princess. With a decisive point of his finger, he confirms that their recollection is correct. He declares he must see the truth for himself and will go on reconnaissance to the neighboring country. Kana accuses him of lying, certain that the story they were told was just a means of restraint. Fuda realizes with dawning dread that the castle's knights are preparing for a real war. Kana understands that the story they were told was merely a pretext to keep them there. Fuda says with horror that if they stay, they will be forced to kill people. Riku confirms that after a month of training, they will be a match for this country's knights. He lays out his plan. Once they can defend themselves, he will depart for the neighboring country. He assigns Fuda his role within the plan while he is away. He then instructs Kana to continue her training alongside the castle's forces. Finally, he tells Mizuki that she will be training secretly with him. Lychee asks what her role is, and Riku orders her to stay hidden and not leave the rooms. The fairy sticks her tongue out with a sound of annoyance, displeased with her assignment. With the plan decided, Riku instructs the 3 teenagers to take out their smartphones. He playfully teases them about the shock of losing their mobile game login bonuses. He then jabs at Kana, suggesting she only plays because she has no boyfriend. Annoyed, Kana mutters that their personalities are surprisingly similar. The 3 teenagers comply, placing their phones on the table as instructed. With a confident smile, Riku tells them to watch as he holds his hand over the devices. The phones float into the air as the cryptic word forms from magical light. The teens pick up their devices, wondering if anything has actually changed. Mizuki hands a phone to Kana, encouraging her to try using it. Kana announces that she is going to call Mizuki, who stands just feet away. As she puts the phone to her ear, she is shocked to hear it actually ringing. Mizuki answers with a tentative, "Hello?" Zrenia, her hand covering her mouth in disbelief. The two girls stare at each other, stunned that the call has connected between them. Riku explains with a sly grin that his first attempt at modifying a smartphone was a success. He reveals the phones now draw power from ambient magic, so they don't need to be charged. He adds that while short-range calls work, long-range communication is still an unknown. Likey asks why he doesn't simply use his teleportation magic, Leap. Riku speculates that it doesn't work because this world's fundamental axis is different. He turns to Fuda, reminding him that he has 1 month to get stronger. When asked where he is going, Riku replies with a roguish grin that he's taking a walk. Kaho steps out from a doorway, suspiciously asking if he's going without an attendant. She watches him depart, a look of quiet annoyance on her face. Once he is gone, she mutters to Mizuki about what a strange old guy he is. Kaho then turns to the fairy Lychee, asking what kind of hero Riku was. Lychee chirps cheerfully that he was both strong and quick-witted. Kaho's expression darkens as she adds that, at their age, he was already a killer, a revelation that leaves the three teenagers frozen in horror. The scene transitions to an ornate ceiling as Riku begins his secret mission. He strolls through the castle halls intending to identify the princess's room. Continuing his reconnaissance, he wanders through the opulent corridors. His next objective is to gauge the skill level of the castle's knights. Hiding in a hedge, he contemplates how this world's magic system differs from his own. He witnesses a female instructor delivering a brutal strike to a male trainee. The instructor screams at the trainee to stand up and face the situation. Riku internally dismisses her crude training methods as lacking any sophistication. From his hiding place, he silently casts a spell he calls Fire Cluster. The trainee thrusts his hands forward, shouting the name of his own spell, Aqua Lance. He strains, trying to focus his mind to create a sharper, more piercing attack. Riku analyzes the technique, noting it's a simple conversion of a mental image into mana. He concludes that this world does not possess a complex, established magic system. As the trainee pants, a voice suddenly calls out, demanding to know what he's doing there. Riku is genuinely surprised, realizing someone has detected his concealed presence. Feigning authority, he orders the person in the shadows to come out slowly. An imposing knight emerges, and Riku is impressed that someone so skilled exists here. The handsome knight, their hand on their sword, demands to know what he was listening to. With a confident, calculating smirk, Riku wonders how he will get out of this situation. The imposing knight, Plavius, sits sternly, demanding to know what Riku was doing. In the castle corridor, Plavius confronts Riku, asking if he is from another world. Riku looks flustered, stammering that, in fact, he was simply looking for something. He shouts with a pained expression that he got lost while desperately needing to relieve himself. Plavius yells back in disgust, asking if Riku actually defiled the training grounds. Clutching his stomach, Riku objects to the crude term and insists he hasn't done anything yet. His performance having reached its limit, Riku admits to himself that his acting was terrible. Letting out a soft sigh, Plavius seems to let the tense moment pass. Plavius thanks Riku, admitting they were also looking, before criticizing his crude language. Announcing their departure, Plavius turns and asks for Riku's name. Riku introduces himself with a wink and asks for the knight's name in return. The knight reveals their identity as Plavius, commander of the White Light Knight Order. Plavius, now revealed as the knight commander, directly asks Riku if he is the hero. Riku feigns surprise, questioning if an old guy like him could be the hero. Plavius explains the summoning ritual is a secret, even from them. Riku scoffs internally at the poorly kept secret and decides to test the commander. He casually suggests that the Knight Order alone might not be strong enough to win. Plavius turns away, dismissively asking what an otherworlder could possibly understand. Grabbing Riku's shoulder, Plavius demands to know why they aren't preparing to fight the Demon Lord. Their composure broken, Plavius yells that of course they know that. They catch themselves mid-shout, a look of surprise and embarrassment crossing their face. Covering their mouth, Plavius apologizes for their sudden outburst. Riku presses his advantage, revealing knowledge of their relatives in a rival nation. He thinks to himself that something about this entire situation feels suspicious. Their tense exchange is suddenly interrupted by the arrival of a royal entourage. A regal woman, Princess Epicharis, states Riku is no guest and questions Plavius. Plavius formally addresses the princess, explaining they were merely escorting Riku to the restroom. Riku asks for a bit more time and permission to go to the toilet by himself. The princess coolly reminds him that as the hero, he is not free to roam the castle. An elderly lord erupts in anger, shouting at Riku for his impertinence. Riku smirks, suggesting they should have summoned with more precision if they didn't want him. Princess Epicharis glares at him with a chilling, unreadable expression. Riku notes her icy stare, thinking he is already thoroughly disliked. The princess's expression softens slightly, accepting his apology without any warmth. Riku offers a formal apology, admitting he spoke out of turn and caused trouble. Plavius declares they will take responsibility for Riku as the entourage departs. Walking away, Plavius remarks on Riku's fearsome audacity for speaking so brazenly. Riku asks if the king and princess have withdrawn, noting their absence. Plavius reveals a dark secret. The princess was killed when she was a child. A maid bursts from a doorway, exclaiming in surprise at seeing Plavius in an otherworlder. Mortified, the maid blurts out that she was looking for a place to relieve herself. Plavius tells Riku to call a maid next time and teasingly calls him by his first name. Riku looks away, irritated, but thinks to himself that Plavius doesn't seem like a bad person. He mutters under his breath in frustration at the knight's teasing. In another room, Princess Epicharis asks an advisor if Riku spoke impertinently. She turns her gaze sharp and asks about the training of the two heroes. The advisor reports that the legends of the hero's power appear to be true. He warns that if this news spreads, the kingdom's morale will soar, pushing for war. Epicharis listens, her hands clasped tightly as she lets out a soft, anticipatory sound. A gleeful, predatory smile spreads across her face as she declares she can't wait for the war. The advisor is stunned, stammering her name in disbelief at her bloodthirsty enthusiasm. 1 month passes, the scene focusing on the tall spires of the castle. In the courtyard, Kana teases the young hero, asking if he'll lose to a mere old man. The young hero, Riku, grips his sword and announces that he is ready to begin. He leaps into the air, his feet leaving the ground with incredible speed. With a fierce grimace, he brings his heavy practice sword down in a powerful arc. Mizuki, watching from the sidelines, gasps at his incredible speed. The older Riku calmly observes the attack, thinking the speed is what he'd expect from a real hero. Believing his strike is a sure hit, the young hero yells out in triumph. The older Riku's expression is one of bored indifference as he dismisses the attack. He sidesteps with contemptuous ease, the young hero stumbling past him in disbelief. Before the boy can recover, Riku hooks a leg behind his, tripping him with practiced ease. The hero is sent tumbling through the air, his eyes wide with shock. He lands flat on his back, splayed out on the dusty ground. Standing over him, the older Riku remarks that his simple, linear attacks are easy to counter. With a smug grin, he calls for the next challenger, taunting them about fighting a middle-aged man. Kana steps forward, hefting her polearm and declaring that she is ready. She charges across the training ground, her expression a mask of determination. Riku notes that after seeing the hero's defeat, she is understandably on guard. He calmly gestures for her to attack, telling her to bring it on. He plants his foot firmly, ready to meet her charge. Kana's eyes widen with a jolt of alarm as she prepares to strike. She unleashes a furious barrage of strikes, her polearm a blur of motion. Riku parries the blows, noting that the long weapon has a wide, advantageous range. He grips his own weapon, his expression hardening as he prepares to exploit her weakness. A diagram illustrates that a spear user is at an advantage when keeping their distance. Kana's eyes widen in shock as Riku suddenly closes the distance between them. He leans in close, whispering that she's weak once an opponent gets inside her guard. Sprawled on the ground in defeat, Kana pounds the dirt in frustration. Riku turns to Mizuki, telling her she's last and to use the magic he taught her. The tiny fairy, Rich, flies by, excitedly announcing it's her disciple's turn. Mizuki looks concerned, thinking about something that's been bothering her after training. She cries out and unleashes Splash, a massive torrent of water. Riku grunts with effort, bracing himself against the oncoming wave. He stands firm, holding his sword ready to meet the immense magical force. The other two students watch in astonishment, wondering how he'll stop that much water. Having split the wave, Riku calls for her to use the next magic spell. Mizuki summons her power, preparing to cast a spell beginning with Aqua. She unleashes Lance, firing several sharp projectiles of water toward him. Riku thinks that he taught her a system of magic similar to his own worlds. He notes that due to her archery experience, her aim is perfect. He smirks, thinking that being perfect also makes her attacks easy to read as he dodges. The other two students shout in disbelief that he dodged the magic. Riche suddenly yells for Mizuki to use that other thing, startling her. Mizuki clasps her hands, a look of intense concentration on her face. Riku shouts for her to wait, realizing with alarm that he never taught her this. She unleashes Aqua Bullet, a swirling sphere of highly compressed water. Riku screams in horror, recognizing the spell is from his own world. He realizes his posture is broken, leaving him vulnerable to a direct hit. With a shout, Mizuki unleashes a spell her trainer didn't teach her. Aqua Bullet. Her projectile streaks across the training ground, meeting an identical spell fired by Riku. The two swirling spheres of water magic collide in midair with a sharp crack. Riku's face contorts in shock and disbelief at the magical stalemate he faces. Mizuki looks on with one eye closed, her hands still held in a casting pose. Her companions, Fuda and Kana, are stunned by the unexpected display of power. With a soft hiss, the two clashing spells neutralize each other, vanishing into thin air. Mizuki looks surprised, asking her trainer if she just canceled out his magic. Fuda and Kana look around, confused by the anticlimactic end to the spell duel. From a wider view, Mizuki asks her companions if she managed to neutralize the attack. Riku explains that colliding identical magic powers causes them to cancel each other out. He sternly tells the fairy, Rich, not to teach Mizuki such pointless tricks. Conceding Mizuki's absurd strength, Riku observes his three students with a critical eye. He smirks, telling them they still can't draw out their true power yet. Looking down, he quietly remarks that this is to be expected after 5 years as a hero. He flexes his bicep, confidently challenging the younger heroes, asking if they can beat him. Fuda and Kana are stunned, realizing the immense weight of his 5 years of experience. Riku reflects on his past, wondering if he returned to his world at 17 after defeating the Demon Lord. He grimaces, remembering that he wasn't even able to say a proper goodbye to his former comrades. The three students worry about their own uncertain futures, realizing they've been gone for a month. Riku recalls his 5 years as a hero, losing friends and being separated from his classmates. With grim determination, he declares that all three have passed and can now defend themselves. Later, he announces his plan to go on a reconnaissance mission to the neighboring country. Before leaving, he offers them a present, theatrically producing a single dining knife. Fuda stares in utter confusion at the seemingly mundane gift now in his hands. He and Kana question the strange present, with Kana stating she'd prefer a throwing knife. With a sinister grin, Riku suddenly grabs both of their hands, forcing the knife forward. In a shocking move, he plunges the dull knife deep into his own stomach. A thick black fluid begins to drip from the wound, pooling on the ground below. The blade is buried in his abdomen, held firmly by his and the student's hands. Fuda screams Riku's name in terror, demanding to know why he would do such a thing. The bloody knife clatters to the ground, splashing into the pool of dark fluid. Kneeling in pain, Riku clutches his bleeding stomach as his students watch in horror. Fuda cries out Riku's name again, reaching out a hand in a desperate gesture. Kana is completely frozen, her body trembling as she stares at the horrific scene. Mizuki rushes forward, grabbing Riku's shoulders and shouting his name in panic. Her eyes widen in shock as she looks up at Riku's face. Riku looks at his blood-soaked hand with a chilling smirk, muttering about the sensation. The three students look on in shock, unnerved by Riku's strange calm. A triumphant, almost crazed grin spreads across Riku's face as he contemplates the wound. His hands clasped over his stomach begin to glow with a brilliant light. He unleashes the Light of Rebirth, a powerful healing spell radiating from his wound. The light washes over the floor, causing the black blood to sizzle and evaporate. The pool of blood rapidly shrinks under the magical light's cleansing influence. In moments, the floor is pristine, as if the horrific act never occurred. Fuda and Kana are speechless, questioning if that was some kind of recovery magic. Kana screams in shock and disbelief at the miraculous healing she just witnessed. She angrily tells Riku not to scare them like that, complaining of the lingering sensation. Riku calmly tells her that this visceral feeling was the entire point of the exercise. He explains that they may have to stab another person in the future. He wanted them to experience the feeling of killing and the sight of blood now. He warns that hesitating in a real battle could get them killed. Fuda and Kana realize with dawning horror that they may have to kill people. Riku confirms their fears with a grim nod as the knife is cleansed by his magic. The knife levitates from the disappearing puddle, now perfectly clean. The last traces of the black puddle vanish, leaving the knife floating in the air. He declares the cleanup complete and that they must not hesitate if they want to survive. He lunges forward, warning them not to attempt half measures like simply disarming an opponent. Pressing the knife to Fuda's throat, He tells him to kill his enemies decisively. He lectures them that if they don't kill, they will be the ones to die. Mizuki suggests his harsh methods stem from his own difficult first experience with killing. She intuits he let them experience it on his body to spare them the trauma. Riku looks away with a faint smirk, admitting that's part of the reason. He begins to explain that there is something else fundamentally different about this world. Kana looks up, asking what else there is that he needs to convey to them. The serious mood shatters as Kana plops down, shrieking about her exposed underwear. Her face flushes bright red with utter mortification and embarrassment. She scrambles to cover herself as the others are struck dumb by the sudden absurdity. Riku tries to call out to her, but she is too consumed by her own humiliation. Later, Riku appears with a small, unexplained cut on his nose, looking thoughtful. His companions, now recovered, try to restrain a still fuming Kana. He declares that he's had enough and is leaving the country, then smashes a vial. His three companions stare, shocked and confused by his sudden destructive act. The glass vial shatters on the floor, its contents spilling out. Kana finally explodes, screaming that she can't take it anymore as her friends restrain her. Princess Epicharis and her retinue arrive, demanding to know what the commotion is about. An attendant accuses Riku of staring lecherously at Kana's chest. A close-up comically emphasizes Kana's chest as the accusation is made. Riku sweats, blushing and looking away, unable to form a coherent denial. He tries to protest his innocence, but the princess calls him a pervert. The princess looks down on Kana, calling her a cheeky but powerless little girl. Kana retorts furiously that the princess has gone too far with her insults. Riku declares that he has had enough of the situation. He announces to the princess that he is leaving to find a way home. The princess scoffs, thinking that it's for the best if this useless hostage leaves. Mizuki watches worriedly, knowing that Riku can't survive alone outside the castle. Riku glances back, thinking to himself that Kana's acting is quite convincing. Kana, completely enraged, screams at him to get out and die in a ditch. Riku feigns surprise, asking if she really thinks this is just an act. The princess warns him that the political situation is unstable and leaving is dangerous. She tells him that as a powerless man, he would surely die if he left now. Kana declares she refuses to go with a pervert dad like him. Riku internally repeats the word acting, keeping up the ruse. The princess appears to relent, stating she will respect his individual will. Riku breathes a sigh of relief, grateful she isn't pressing the issue. He thinks triumphantly that he has successfully created an excuse to leave the castle. Later, as they prepare to leave, a question hangs in the air. Kana confronts Riku, asking if he is sure about this whole plan. Mizuki and Fuda both agree he's a pervert, much to his flustered annoyance. Fuda confirms that Riku was indeed glancing at Kana's chest and stomach earlier. With a weary sigh, Riku laments his unfamiliarity with high school girls. His tiny fairy companion, Lychee, then asks if she can come with him. He explains she will be necessary if the demon tribe gets involved. Fuda, however, expresses his concern for the friends they are leaving behind. They recall Princess Epicharis' warning not to get too strong, lest she start a war. Riku gives them a final instruction to contact him via their modified smartphones. A sharp knock at the door suddenly interrupts their conversation, catching his attention. A voice calls out for Riku as the three friends turn toward the door. Kana's eyes widen in surprise as she recognizes the person entering the room. The formidable knight Plavius is revealed, standing in their full-plate armor. Plavius taunts Kana about their previous duel, calling her victory a mere fluke. They announce they have brought supplies for the journey, including tools and money. As Riku dons the new adventurer's gear, Fuda exclaims how cool he looks.